Welcome to MoxieBox Teacher Training. We really hope that your last month's lesson was successful and the kids enjoyed it and you enjoyed it. This month you're going to love it because there's a lot that we're going to be integrating into this lesson. We're going to be using some curriculum and thematic teaching. We are also going to be creating an awesome family portrait, which then can be used as your holiday gift. At the very end, we even have another little tip and trick to share with you for the holidays. Now, what I do want to explain this time around is that this isn't going to be that long, hour or so training. These are going to be little tips and tricks. So they're going to be short little videos, not really a training, but maybe going through the manual and the supplies and giving you some ideas to make you and therefore your students successful. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at our little present right here. This MoxieBox is full of everything that you need for this lesson. So inside, you're going to see what you saw the last time. And we had well, you can call it a teacher's manual, but really for your grade, what I like about it most of all is that it is also a way to use and integrate curriculum into this art project. So after your portrait, inside your fancy little box is something that I love that Miss Amanda sends with, and that is our table saver. We do sanitize enough as it is with good old COVID. So with these, you're saving your tabletop. Make sure you remind them, open it up 4s, and then spread it out, arms over it so that it flattens it out and does not affect your drawing. You also have something that I personally love, and this is head templates. And it's so clever because depending on how many people in your family will depend on what guide you would use. So if you have just 2 people in your family, you can go ahead and use the big red template. A couple of different ways the students can use this template. They could cut it out. They could then put it on top of the paper and trace it that way. They can just use their eyes or their tools around them to see how big and how tall it is. Here's your pencil. It's just about the size of a pencil. If you have a lot of people in your family, like my little Brooke, who has a lot of people in her family, 9 siblings, amazing family, she's going to go ahead and use the green one because the green one is so much smaller that you can fit that many people on the paper. So you probably are wondering, well, what is the paper and what size is the paper? It's big. It's really big. It's your construction size paper. This is the drawing paper that you're going to be using. So you can see it's covering the whole screen, right? So you can see that in this case, the 2 larger heads, it's going to work with plenty of room for something. Well, they figured out what that something is throughout this lesson too. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. And we're going to turn on the camera dock so that we can go ahead and see what else, all the other goodies that are in this box. Okay, this was our paper. This is going to be our portrait paper. Remember that. We also have scratch paper. There's a great reason for this, and this is going to be the very step we do. It's how we're going to start. Then you have some handy dandy markers. These are awesome markers, and I love these markers because it provides 2 different services for the kids. One side, they're going to have a really thin tip, and then the other side is going to be a really thick tip. And Miss Amanda has the tip in the manual that talks about when you're using in larger areas, the bigger one is a really great one to use. Be sure you outline and then fill in with it. So we have those 2 tips. Make sure that you show the kids both sides of it so that they know to use it. And then one of the best things they threw in was the multicultural crayons. And I love that about this because they're not giving them a choice to make purple faces or orange faces, but actual skin color faces. Okay, lastly, we have ideas, little guides on what different types of hair they might want to draw in. Maybe they'll find one really close to their family that they can copy. And then they also have some mustaches. Okay, so here is the K-2nd grade family portrait manual. We're going to go ahead and open it up. And your littles, some are reading. They're starting to read. The 2nd graders are doing a great job. but for the K and the 1s, we're going to be reading it to them. And you don't have to read all of it to them. You can go ahead and read it ahead of time and then summarize it for them. But we do want you to make sure that they realize that this lesson comes from an art teacher, Nick Kahn. And the whole project this month is on family portraits. So really important to talk about families and what they mean to them and the different types of families, and that all families are different. There's also a great book that we have on the website. You can also go ahead and use your phone here, watch it ahead of time, but then you can show the class. It's called Families, Families, Families. It's a great way to get started. And remember, you know how much I love to have a little video going on so that I can get myself settled and ready. And if there's things that I need to prep, they can be doing something really effective while I'm prepping. So before we actually get started on step 1, I want to talk to you about some ideas that we might have moving into step 1 and step 2. But before I do that, I want to get the kids excited. Let's bring in some math and let's get them excited and talking about the difference between their immediate family and family that doesn't live with them. Because this portrait is going to be the family that does live with them, okay? So let's go ahead and bring in Jim, our rolling whiteboard, so that we can look at some ideas on math. Okay, so I already have this prepared for you, right? And here I have my class. Your class, there's going to be a lot more names up there because you have a lot more students than just 17. I know you do. We're going to bring in math here, and we're going to bring in tallying, okay? So for 6 or more, Jennifer has 7 family members, Alan has 6. So we're going to go ahead and tally on the bottom. And you're going to tally, the kids are going to tell you how many students there were that have 6 or more. So we would go ahead and put our 2 tally marks. On here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The students should be counting with you how many students. And then have them come up and tally for you so that you have your 5 and then you have your 2 tally marks. And they should be doing this for all of the columns. Now, your 2nd graders, they're adding, and you know that they've added 3 single digits in 1st grade. So let them continue to add 3 single digits. They can add how many are in column 6, how many are in 5, 4. They, of course, are not going to want to do that big number, so keep it small. Keep the addition up to each column, okay? Especially your 2nd graders. So extend the math and extend this activity and lesson to other curricular areas so that we can start connecting those thematic areas. Okay, so thank you, rolling whiteboard, and we're going to go ahead and go back to the camera doc. Okay. Step 1 is going to be a practice, and of course that is brilliant, right? It's brilliant for these kids to practice. So here's the big tip that Miss Amanda put inside this box, and that is a guideline. Okay, here's our guideline. What this means is that if you have 4 or 5 people in your family, you're going to go ahead and use the orange template. If you have 3 people, you're going to use the blue template, and so on and so forth. Now, before we even go to this step, I want you to give your kids an opportunity to go ahead and practice on this practice paper. What are they practicing? They're practicing how to draw an oval for the head. Okay, now depending on how many people in their family, I have 4, so I would be drawing 4 oval. Prior to you getting started with this, have them come back to the carpet where they're going to focus, because you know my first tip over here, the big tip is if they're sitting at their seat, what is going to happen? They're going to be wanting to take out those markers and take out that pencil. They're going to want to get going before you even finish your directions. So don't let that box be like that candy aisle in Joann's. You know, so good, don't touch, right? So have them come to the carpet so their hands in their lap and they can watch a video that we have up on MoxieBox under the teacher training. This video, it's very short, it's 2 to 3 minutes, but it's going to show them in a visual these exact steps, okay? And that can get their head rolling and you're front loading them on what you're expecting them to do. This is really important. I want you to give them the good old try. Okay, so with that scrap, after they've watched it, you're bringing them back to their seat. And with that scrap paper, go ahead and have them try. Let's say they had 4 family members like I do. We want to have a couple of ovals in the back, a couple in the front. They could be touching each other. We're going to be able to add things through it. Now, if you find that their ovals are becoming more like an oval where you know it's going to be difficult for them to draw in the facial features, then you might want to seek out some parent volunteers if you have them. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that and how that could look, okay? However, part of what you'll see in the video is really the next step. And this is what I want to talk to you about first before I go to how parents might be able to help you. When you're doing the lines, and this is what they'd see in the video, they're cutting basically the egg in half, and then they're making a line going across horizontally, because this is going to be the eye line. And then they have the nose line, and then they have the mouth line. So some students might have a challenge with that spatial awareness, right? And that's okay, because they're developing. So that's okay. If that's the case, we might be able to reach out to some parents to help out and prep for us. But please have them try. This time around, this is going to be the practice, because you're going to be able to stop and assess, how well did my students do? What support do I need? Maybe some don't need any, and maybe some do, but we are so used to differentiating academically. You can differentiate with art as well. So have them try, make that line going down. I did learn by doing a practice run to have them flip it. Some kids just can see it better, up and down in the middle, the nose line, and then they cut that in half too. The video actually uses different vocab and verbiage that might be really helpful for you to use that same while they're doing this practice. If you're finding those kids that are making one big portrait, or they just don't have that visual yet because they're developing and making those banana faces, you might want to reach towards parent volunteers. So this is my second tip in this particular lesson. Because Miss Amanda put this in the box as a guideline, you now have a graph that tells you how many students have 5 family members and how many students have 4, 3, 2, however many, however their family looks. You then can have a parent take home this template. They can cut it if cardstock works better and they want to trace the blue onto cardstock, whatever works. But it can happen really quickly if you send it home. So that parent would take that blue cardstock size head and go ahead and draw those 4 ovals for them. Do you see how quickly that can be? You're talking about 10 seconds per student, right? So that can be done really quick. I'd rather you not use your 35 to 40 minutes of your precious lunchtime for it. So I'm hoping you have parent volunteers like we do at our school. Okay, so once that's done, now you want to give it some time, so a parent has a few days to finish that before you move on to the next step. And celebrate, and have the students celebrate their differences too, though. I mean, not every student is going to grow up to be an artist, right? But have them celebrate. In this manual, it talks about the glows and the grows. Have them self-assess. Hey, what is your glow in your portrait so far? What is your grow in your portrait so far? Have them do it again at step 3 and step 4. What is your glow? What is your grow? Right? It's a great self-assessment tool to use in in all academic areas. Okay, they're going to become really more detailed here. And I bet you're thinking what I'm thinking. Does this all have to happen in one session? Oh my goodness, you have littles. There's even a TK class here. Amazing. Those TK teachers, I bow down to you every day, all the time, 100% of the time. Those littles may not be able to sit and do this all in one session. That is okay. You know your class better than anybody. You know how long they can be engaged. You know when they need a goal noodle or a brain break. You know all this about them. You know the best time of day for them to do this as well. So none of that's dictated to you. We want to empower you with what works for your class. So if you need to do this in 3 days, take 3 days. The goal of MoxieBox is for it to be a pacing guide so that you then are not rushing through and the students are not rushing through and they see that this is a work in progress, right? Okay, so take the time that you need for each step. Step 2, okay, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about with step 2. You can see that there are animals in here and you can see that we have a sample of an animal. Okay, we also have kiddos with 9 siblings. We also have kiddos with 2. And so each one of those students are going to take a different amount of time to finish their portrait sketch before we start putting in the color. So therefore we have a early finisher assignment. This is something you can do while those children are working on their family portrait. They can be practicing how to make their pet. If you would like them to add in the pet, it is completely up to you. It's an option that we've presented to you, but again, we empower you to do what you know is best for your class. If you'd rather not do the animal, take out the animal. Okay, so you're going to follow step 2, and the permanent marker, by the way, the permanent marker is just the black marker that you have in the MoxieBox. Okay, step 3 is then coloring in skin color. So this is really fun to do for the littles. They have the multicultural crayons, and so it's really fun for the kids to partner, share, and compare. So they can take out those multicultural crayons, and they can actually be testing it on themselves and others. Like, oh, look, my skin is lighter than yours. Oh, look, your skin is darker than mine. Do you think this one matches better on me? And they can have that dialogue with their friends. Really important for them to realize that there are all types of skin color, right? Everybody is special and everybody is unique. So let them find their unique self in this and find that unique color that's theirs. But there's also a great tip that I love, and it talks about, think about your family. Does everybody have the same color of skin? Well, if they have a family portrait that they brought in, which might be a great idea for them to have, for a parent to have their kiddo come in with a picture of their family, they can really talk that through and look at it and examine it. You know what? No. Look at my dad's got a lot darker skin than I do. I have 4, there's 4 in my family, and I have 1 blonde boy named Cole and 1 dark-haired boy named Cody. And Cody has skin color like me, which is olive, and the blonde is like Jim, and he's very fair, okay? So all 4 of my people that I color in are gonna look very different and have different skin colors, so it's fun. Then with the eye color, I promise you there are gonna be some kids that say, I don't know what color my mom's eyes are. I don't know what color my dad's eyes are. It's okay, let's stop here. That's what you're gonna find out tonight. What is the color of your family's eyes, right? I can even put that up to Google Classroom as a little assignment. Okay, so these things, we want to be sure that we're getting them to understand, hey, this is your project. Go find out. The MoxieBox has samples of hair and also of the different types of beards. Be sure to have them take that out as a reference. Oh, that's the one that my dad has, or my mom's hair looks like this. My sister always wear a ponytail, so I'm going to draw it like that. So go ahead and use those references. That's what they're there for. A tip that Miss Amanda has is that when you are doing the larger areas, please be sure to use that thicker tip of the marker that I showed you. And her suggestion is to be sure to outline around. You can see the sample that she did right here. She made a little outline all around before she colored it in. Okay, and that helps them guide them. It allows for the eyes to see, this is what I'm working on right now. Again, it's step 3. You have littles. I just say to you this, when you start seeing the rushing, stop. They need a break. And continue on the next day or in 2 days. It does not have to be done all in one day. Prior to you even working on step 3, I talked a lot about this in the training video. Use your carpet. Use the carpet. It's a great way to transition the bodies and allowing them to get those wiggles and giggles out by walking to the carpet, walking back to their table and back and forth. But I really feel it's important that they're sitting on the carpet while you are modeling, coloring in the face so that they're not rushing and you're not going to get the scribblers, okay? So have them come to the carpet while you're doing it so that they don't have that MoxieBox candy to play around with. Okay, step 4. Step 4 is adding a background. For the littles, you might want to keep it simple. Hey, what's your favorite color? That's what we're going to use for the background. Or even better, have them take a visual look and go, I used blue, I used green, I used red, I used brown, I used tan. You know what? I'm going to find a color that I didn't use, and that's going to be my background. So have them choose whatever color that might be their favorite, but you also might want to say to them is, hey, look, if your favorite color is brown and this is your portrait, would that be a good one to use? Why not? Right? Because it's just going to blend in. So find a color that you haven't used. If you've got some of those fancy dancy artists in your class and they want to do designs, don't stop them. Have them bring in what they want to bring in. Remember, art, you're always right. Okay, before I show you the extension activities, I want to remind you of Moxie University. You know, it is written for the older, so again, read it through and highlight what you think it's important for them to know. Because this is a really important part of MoxieBox. We want to always extend it to the academics, okay? So make sure you always share the Moxie University. All right, so a couple of other things I want to share with you, and that is an idea, and I'm using this page as an example. So your students have just finished a great portrait, and it's a wonderful holiday season gift, right? What family is not going to want it? I know for my house, I stopped buying pictures, and on our wall are the kids' artwork. Because I started thinking to myself, well, I don't want to look at somebody else's artwork. I want to look at theirs. And so we frame all of our kids' artwork, and that's what's up on the wall. And so you're going to end up sending home a really special holiday gift to these families. Man, after the pandemic, who's not going to want something like this? Okay, so I told you that I had this site. It's an app, and it's called Free Prints. And it's free, but that's pretty redundant, I suppose. It's free, but what isn't free is the shipping. But here's what I love about Free Prints. Free Prints, it's free to teachers. You can get up to 80 prints a month. However, if you don't use it that month, you don't lose it. And it actually accumulates. So at this time of the year, I have 320 prints that I have not used yet. So what I would do is I would be taking pictures of every single portrait that my students made. And then I would be uploading that to Free Prints. All I'm paying for is shipping. Shipping has never cost me more than $10, and that was because I had a couple of hundred prints sent to me. It's typically $2.99 for your class, double your class set, be double the prints. And why I'm suggesting this, and I would suggest matte, because I've done the glossy before, but the matte would be, and that's a choice you have on Free Prints, that would be a better choice for this particular project. They can be postcards. It's easy to make it a postcard. You have an address in the back, a little note, and you've got a stamp, and it goes in the mail. You can also put it inside your holiday cards for the grandparents. It's really nice to have actual artwork from family members. It's really special. Okay, so let's bring in some extension activities. Let's start with some ELA and some fun writing. You know, you had a choice. You had a choice to have the children decide, or you choose for them, whether you're going to add an animal to the family portrait or if you just wanted the family members there. But let's say you did choose. Okay, I did want them to put in an animal. It's part of their family. So let me go ahead and have them put in their animal. Well, I have two different animal writing for them. There are 2 different templates. One is really simple, and it's for those students that don't have a pet. Oh, because I forgot to mention this, there's some that are going to say, well, we don't have a pet. My mom doesn't like dogs, or my fish died, and you're going to hear all kinds of pet stories. They may not have a pet. So then my question to them is, but if you could have a pet, what kind of a pet would it be? Not for the portrait, but for the writing, right? If you could have a pet in the world, it would be a monkey, because I want somebody to vacuum my house for me. Whatever their sentence is, and then they can go ahead and draw a picture. But they may have a pet. And this is also a great bulletin board. They may have a pet, and they may want to share a pet with the class, right? Maybe a share day could be all about their pets, or about a pet that they would want. So this is one extension that they can do. Another one, if you don't want to do that, family traditions are really important, and each family has a different tradition. And we often study, no matter what grade you're in, we often study cultures around the world around the holiday time, right? We like to go in and look at all different countries, their traditions. Well, what is their family tradition? Maybe they can go to a grandparent and FaceTime them or Zoom them and ask them, hey, what was a family tradition that you had that we're still doing, or that we should start doing again? Bring in those family members. I have lots of different ones, so I picked out all differentiation ones, and these all are going to be up on MoxieBox under the teacher training. So here's one called My Family Traditions. Here's another one, which is a closed sentence. And this could be for a first grade class, even a kindergarten class. And this again is talking about family traditions. What are they? When do they happen? How does it make you feel? Some students are still needing some developmental guideline visuals. So here's another one where it's showing you the different guidelines and even the basement. Then you have for the olders, like the 2nd graders. Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit, and that's how I'm going to end. I'm going to end with my last tip for you guys, and that's for the pencil. Because when I was doing my practice run with this lesson, it brought me back again to how we differentiate in the classroom, right? And some tools that students might need. And here's a tool that I want to share with you. And that is when they are drawing their families and they're drawing the features. Okay, there are some kids that are still in a developmental stage, right? So 2 things that I'm suggesting. And one is this, that if they use a golf pencil, it's often a lot easier for them to draw with. And why I'm saying that to you is because it's not as heavy. So the golf pencils are not as heavy. They're a lot lighter, and so they have more dexterity with it. They're able to grip it better. And oftentimes you'll see that they're forming either letters or they're forming shapes better with it. Another one that I would say is that golf pencil, if you have your heavy erasers. For some reason, the littles often do that. They are erasing, and they're erasing through the paper. And you always hear that, I ripped my paper. Well, with the golf pencil, they can't erase. So it becomes few and far between with those rips. So those are some tips that I have for the pencils. Some of the kids that need that strengthening, go ahead and give them those fat pencils that we used to use, and that'll help also with control when they're doing their facial features. Okay, well, I hope this was really helpful to you, and what we wish here that you get a great family gift that can be sent home during the holiday season, and the whole Moxie team wishes you and your family a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season.